Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
All right, everyone, let's get this party started. Hello, it's nice to see so many awesome faces here, smiling faces. I'm Courtney Elmer. I am the founder and CEO of PodLaunch, and I am here to introduce our next guest to you. So get those headphones up. We are on the blue and red channel here this morning. We have got Jennifer Hahn, who is the CMO of Ausha, here to help you get more listeners on platforms where listeners are listening, Apple and Spotify, without paying for ads. So let's give a warm welcome to Jennifer. Warmer, guys, warmer. Woo! Yes, awesome.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this session. Today, I will be showing you your concrete ways to gain more listeners from Apple and Spotify apps. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Jennifer Hahn, CMO at Ausha. You might have already noticed the funny accent by now. So yes, this live experiment is proudly brought to you from France. And also a few words about my background. I have over 15 years of experience in international marketing. I started my career at L'Oreal in the beauty industry, and I spent the last 5 years in a tech startup. And fun fact, before joining Ausha, I was already using the platform. I was a client before, and I even have my own podcast. But what is Ausha for those who don't know yet? Well, it's the first platform designed to go beyond podcast launch, built to truly grow your audience with powerful marketing tools tailored for podcasting. We offer 5 key tools to add to your stack to help you boost your audience growth. We have hosting and distribution, AI for episode publishing, free charts tracking. We also have Ausha Pro, a branch dedicated for media groups, networks, and podcast agencies. And finally, we have the podcast SEO tool, which is really the hottest trend in the US right now, and one of our most in-demand tools to get discovered. We are currently working with over 20,000 podcasts worldwide and have received excellent feedback so far. Well, now that you know a bit about me and my company, I'd love to learn more about you. And specifically, what do you listen to the most? So please, don't be shy and feel free to shout out your favorite podcast genre or type. Business, okay. Sorry? True crime, okay. Relationships, okay. That's a specific, thank you. Well, now, can you tell me how do you find them? When you're looking for example, a new podcast about relationships, how do you look for them? You search for it? Okay, great. Word of mouth? Okay. From who? Friends? Okay. What about you? How? Yeah? Okay. Recommendations as well. Very interesting. Anyone else who want to share? YouTube? Okay, good to know. Very interesting. So thanks you all for sharing. Well, did you know what most podcast listeners do when they're looking for new shows to listen to? According to the Podcast Discovery Stats study, which surveyed podcast listeners on how they discover new content to consume, it turns out that 1 in 2 discovered podcasts directly into listening apps such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And it makes sense, right? Because we are all doing the same. Let's take a closer look at this. Let's open Apple Podcasts. Just so you know, Spotify is quite similar. But here, as you can see, there are 4 key interfaces accessible through the menu. First, you have the homepage. It's fully curated by the team, and according to the study, though, only 6% of podcast listeners check the app's editorial recommendations. Next is the Browse section, where you find a mix of curated content and top podcast charts, along with the option to browse by category and subcategory. Here, the study shows that 24% of listeners browse these charts. Then there's the personal library, where the app users store the podcast they follow, so not much action here. And last, but far from least, is the search feature. So here, the listeners type in the keyword to find content. For example, if I'm looking for content on the history of Dallas Cowboy, I'd type Dallas Cowboy or Dallas Cowboy history. And I will get a list of shows and episodes, and I won't know most of them, but now I can discover them, 70% of listeners use the search feature to discover new podcasts. So here, if we take a step back, as you can see, to boost your visibility on Apple Podcasts, it's crucial to focus on your efforts on these two sections, search and charts. Unfortunately, I have my presentation has so many things to say about visibility into Apple Podcasts that it won't fit in one session. So I split it in two parts. Today, we will focus on the search section because I prioritized the one with the widest reach for you, in case that you're too tired tomorrow. But still, tomorrow we will cover the second part, talking about charts. We'll be here around the same time on the same stage. Now, it still breaks my heart to leave you hanging, so I brought you a little treat to help you easily track your podcast rankings across all charts, because we just launched Ausha Charts, a free tool that helps you track your Apple and Spotify rankings across all charts, all countries, with your full ranking history. You can also see how your competitors are ranking too, and you can get notified when your rank changes or when a new review drops. So you can sign up now for free and try it yourself, or you can be lazy and join me tomorrow. I will make sure to include a live demo in it. So, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on the search section today. Compared to the charts, it's where you can influence your visibility much faster and much more directly. But first, let's do a live experiment. So please, take out your phones and open the search tab either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And now that you're set up, type in a keyword, meaning a word or a short phrase that our listeners might use to find content like yours. Two things, avoid using your own name unless you're a celebrity. That can happen, who knows. And avoid using the title, the name of your show, because remember, you're trying to get trying to get new listeners that don't know you, that don't know you yet, so they don't know your show name yet. So, did you find your show in the results? So, who didn't? Please raise your hand so I can see. Who didn't? Okay, that's interesting. And who did? If so, at what rank? Number one, which keyword did you type in? I think, sorry, Paula, we might need the mic. I don't know. So. Hi, Yazdin. We can't hear you.
Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour.
The keyword is Morocco.
Morocco.
Yes.
Ah, okay. And you're number one
Yeah.
of Morocco podcast. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
So who else was showing up? What about you?
Yeah, it's a history podcast, so I just did American history, but it showed up 23rd. down the
23rd.
list. Yeah.
Okay, good job. Really not bad. Okay, now you have to know by doing this that you have a clear idea on how visible your show or your podcast is on one specific keyword, in one platform, and in one country store. But there are many other keywords that can bring you more visibility across many countries and on both platforms, Apple and Spotify. Because so far, you only saw the result on one country store, that the one set up on your phone and the platform that you just opened. So you should explore all of these to truly understand your visibility on Apple and Spotify. And since rankings are also changing all the time, you have to understand that visibility isn't static. It's something you work on continuously. By the way, if you want to do what we just did, like playing around, but without all the scrolling to find where you were ranked, head to our PodWar station at our booth right there. You'll be able to test up to 5 keywords and see your podcast exact ranking instantly on Apple Podcast. And you can even switch countries to check your visibility across different markets. It's totally free and running all day. So let's go back to the PSO. So how do you get more visible in the search section, you might think now? So that's where the PSO comes in, the podcast search optimization, aka SEO for podcast. I'm going to give you a 7-step PSO strategy to improve your search visibility. Step 1, define your target keywords with the greatest reach. So here you have to create a list as many keywords as you can think of that are related to your content. And little tip, of course, use AI for this. Also, or you can use like on Ausha, we have an integrated AI keyword assistant that will automatically suggest a set of relevant keywords based on your audio transcription. In any case, when defining your list, keep in mind 2 very important objectives. You first need to choose the most relevant keywords for your content, because it's really pointless to pick keywords that have nothing to do with your content just to try to trick the algorithm. Because even if your podcast appears for a keyword, if listeners don't click on it or don't listen to it because your content doesn't actually match what they're looking for, you'll drop in the rankings. The second thing is that you should also target the most searched keyword by listeners, or you will miss potential audiences. So thanks to the search volume indicator, one of the unique metrics available in our PSO tool, you can extend your reach by knowing which keywords are most in demand. Additionally, we provide a difficulty score, which mainly consider keyword competitiveness to help you find the sweet spot, the high-reach keywords, but with the lowest competition, making it easier to rank higher on this. Step 2, integrate your keywords into your show and episode details. No secret here. For this to work, the keyword typed by the listener must appear at least once in your metadata, title, description, or tag. And according to a study we conducted, 97% of the podcasts in the top 10 search results for a keyword have it in their metadata. So where should you place your keyword to impact the algorithm? Well, you have to know that it's different on Apple and Spotify. But in general, focus on the show and episode name, description, and offer name. And don't just place the keyword once. Use it multiple times for better results. Now, the apps have the keyword you've provided. They have all the information you provided. And they will use them to display your podcast when listeners search for those terms. But you're not the only content out there. Remember, there are over 5 million shows. So you'll appear in a ranking order defined by the platforms on the following criteria. So how does Apple Podcasts search algorithm work? Well, Apple consider 3 key factors when ranking podcasts into the search results. First, the metadata. So there are all your show, channel names, episode titles, description, and audio transcription. Then second is the user behavior, meaning they are considering all the podcasts with high engagement, like those played or followed directly from the search results. And then popularity, how many people are following and playing your podcast overall on Apple Podcast. What about Spotify? To keep it simple, the first 2 factors are quite similar with the metadata and the user behavior. But the third and the fourth factors are unique to Spotify. So the third one is the personalized user recommendation. Basically, the platform suggests content based on what you have already listened to, kind of like how it works for the music. The fourth key indicator, and it's a big one on Spotify, if you want to appear in search, you need to stay fresh. According to our own study, 2 out of 3 podcasts shown in Spotify search results has published an episode in the last 15 days. So yes, Spotify strongly favors recent content when determining the rankings. Just so you know, on Apple Podcasts, we didn't find the same direct correlation, but most shows appearing in the top 100 were still relatively recent. Step 4. Identify and benchmark the competitors ahead of you. So, as I mentioned, you won't be the only one showing for a search query. So now you are entering a battlefield. And your goal is to move ahead of your competitors, as listeners won't scroll through all the search results indefinitely. For the most important keywords, you need to land in the top 5 to 10 to maximize your visibility. So to easily identify your competitors, You can use our PSO tool to get a list of all podcasts that appear for a specific query at any given time. And I recommend then benchmarking the ones on the top results, checking their metadata, and seeing how they use the keywords you are targeting. Then now, do better than them and outrank them. And how can you do better? Well, by continuously optimizing your metadata. To help with that, we have a tool included that's called the PSO Checker. It analyzes your metadata in real time and provides clear, actionable feedbacks to improve your visibility. It even gives you a score so you know exactly how you're performing and what to adjust. You have to understand now that you've started the race, and you'll be optimizing and moving up the rankings. But remember, your competitors are likely doing the same, and every day new content is being launched that could compete with yours. So how do you keep track of all these changes? Well, that's why in the PSO control panel, we let you track your rankings for each keyword over time. You can see the detailed ranking table, monitor your position on Apple Podcast and Spotify, see your performance week by week. You can try gains and losses over the last 7 days. And this really helps you spot trends quickly, adjust your strategy, and keep your podcast visibility on the rise. You also need to analyze your show's overall visibility. So the dashboard also centralizes all your efforts in one place, giving you a clear, actionable overview of your podcast SEO strategy. Last step, well, I kind of trick you because it's not really a step. Sorry about that. But in fact, my point here is that it's all about repetition. Because you need to keep tracking and optimizing for each keyword. You need to also keep adding new keywords, then you can extend your reach and reach potential new listeners. And also, you need to continue to optimize because, as I mentioned, your competitor will be taking action that will affect your position. It's what I like to call, a nerd like me like to call the Star Wars of rankings. And your goal is to stay at the top as long as possible to maximize your chances of attracting new listeners. Now let's take a look at some real results from some of our clients. Here's how the visibility improves with the strategy we've just discussed. For example, the BBC Studios used our PSO tool, and within the first 2 months, they went from invisible to top 6 for the most important keyword. And Courtney Elmer, the host of Insider Secrets to a Top 100 podcast with Courtney Elmer, the founder of PodLaunch and one of the smartest marketers I've ever met. She saw a 41% increase in downloads within just 1 month. And Courtney credits research optimization as the key driver for this growth during that month. But you know what? Don't just take my word for it, or even our happy customer's word. Go try it yourself. You get a 7-day free trial, and for your info, the plans start at $59 per month. Thank you for your time and energy today. I don't know if I still have time for a few questions. I have? Okay. We'll pass around the microphone, so feel free to ask.
Great session.
Thank you.
My question is, how fast do you start seeing results once you start using the tool?
Yeah. Okay. So once you implemented your optimization on the metadata, it's very fast. So most of the client can see like some changes within the 24 first hours. But you have to understand that all the results depend on your work. You have to put the work in. We are providing the hammer. You are the one using it. So that's why it can depend of between each client, you know. Yeah. Another question?
Great presentation, Jen. Thanks.
Thank you.
So my presentation is here tomorrow about AI, getting your episodes. So
great.
I just want to say I agree with you. Search engine optimization for podcast episodes is very important. So that can't be stressed enough. Thank you for that point. Just want to reiterate.
Thank you for your support. Anyone have a question or want to support the cause as well?
Go ahead. Thank you. So if our audience is in different countries, how are we looking at like different countries ranking and all of that? How does that perform?
Very easily. So you have like all the dashboards you can filter out like for any country. You have to know that on Apple Podcasts, for example, you have 175 countries. You have less on Spotify, and yeah, everything is set up for you to switch very easily, and also for you to not like check, within every country, because that would be like very painful and time consuming. We have also some dashboard that show you exactly all the places you pop up for certain keywords. Does anyone else have a question? I think that should be fine. In any case, our booth is right there, so do not hesitate to stop by, and if I can help you, I will be happy. Thank you so much. Have a
All
great
right,
day.
everyone, let's give it up for Jen. Jen, that was amazing. Thank you so much. That was awesome. All right, guys, we are on our lunch break. Remember to feed yourself. It's important. Come back here and join us in a couple of hours. We have some more amazing speakers coming up for you this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here.